Hello everyone, my name is Steven Zapata. I'm a concept artist, illustrator, online art teacher, and former instructor at Art Center College of Design. I would like to introduce you to my new drawing course, Form from Imagination, a course designed to help you draw with confidence from your mind. Maybe you want to be a professional illustrator or designer, maybe you want to be a master with a pencil, or maybe you just want to be the best artist that you can be. Beautiful goals. But it's not always clear how to improve the work that you do from imagination. Over the past 6 months, I've taken all of the little eurekas, tips, and essential exercises that gave me confidence drawing from my mind and compiled them into a sequential course. We start with the absolute foundations, covering the scientific nature of light and shadow, how to hatch, how to create flat tones, how to render spheres and cubes, and step by step, we move through combined shapes, complex shapes, organic shapes. We cover how to simplify extremely complex subjects like the head into basic shapes so that you can handle them more easily from your head. We look at how to understand and treat details. And by the end of these 14 chapters with over 50 video lessons, you'll be ready to do complex designs from your mind with fidelity and energy. And all the demos are done in pencil on paper, so you can do all of the assignments even if you don't have a fancy digital art setup. But I also have demos, instructions, and modifications to the assignments for those who do want to do them digitally. Here's how it works. Go to formfromimagination.com and sign up for the course. Download the assignment book and start watching the lectures. Do the assignments at your own pace. Take your time with them and use this self-study to develop your patience. When you're done, post your assignments in the exclusive community hub, and I'll personally critique your work with drawovers, diagrams, and advice. I want you to know, this course is no joke just because it's online. It is challenging content, and it is more complete than it would be if I was teaching this class at an art college as I have before. If I was teaching this class in person at Art Center today, I would just play these videos in class, knowing full well that they're the most concise, focused, edited, step-by-step way to convey the material. So I'm serious when I say, this course isn't just a substitute for a college level course, it's better than a college level course. And you don't have to pay thousands of dollars per credit and wind up hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. So thank you for checking out the course, thank you for watching this and for your support, and thank you for drawing and making your artwork. The world needs it. I'll see you soon. The year is 87039, new nonlinear time. It's been 50,000 years since Stephen Zapata's final art stream, but we still live in a golden age defined by the gifts his stream bestowed upon mankind. Faster than light travel, eternal life, Stephen cloning, and the keys to a truly galactic human civilization. My name is Stave Satapaz, a reminder clone of Stephen Zapata, an exact reproduction of his personality as constructed by an AI compiling millions of hours of his original art streams. By all accounts, I'm exactly like the original Stephen's public persona, just more muscular, exactly as he would have wanted. I travel the stars on my light tracer, a dream of Stephen. My crew is, of course, all clones of Stephen. Some of my officers are reminders like me, but not all. Some are bioclones, and yet others are aspectoids, clones who, instead of trying to capture his full essence, amplify a particular portion of the original Stephen's personality. We've spent hundreds of years drawing, exploring, and philosophizing while snaking our way through the stars, spreading the good word of design. But we've had another, secret mission as we've cruised the cosmos. I, seek information on the legendary originals, Stephen Zapata's true drawings that he flung wide across the stars at the end of his life on Earth, never to be seen again. My crew thinks I'm looking for them for the same reason all the other madmen do, because they would be valuable beyond all reason. But they don't know what I know, that a critical mass of originals in the hands of a trained reminder can provide a psychic link to the original Stephen mind. Once I collect enough, I'll be able to fulfill my destiny and achieve psychological continuity with the original Stephen. And through me, he will live again to usher in golden ages of art forever. Drawing Ascendant, the eternal chronicles of Stephen Zapata. Lasting Legacy 1, Epic 1. Here we go, and we're on. We are live from the Stephen Dome. Live from Stephen Zapata's Spare and Spartan studio. It's the Stephen Zapata Show. Starring Stephen Zapata. Let's see, we got this on. Let me check my filters on my audio. Yes, that's correct. That is correct. Hello, everybody. Oh, of course, the sun is coming in through my window now. I'm gonna try to ride that out. We'll see about that. If it winds up going right in my eye. You know, the sun is always, it's subtly changing every day. Just because it was in your eye yesterday doesn't mean it'll be in your eye today. You know, the progression of seasons, the progression of equinoxes, you never really know what's gonna happen. So let's see how it goes. How's everybody doing today? Hello. Hello, Anirudh. Hello, Saman. Hello, Fictional Key Art. Hello. Wander Rucksack, what up? I'm drinking a little morning tea. What else? I'll be honest, I'm not feeling so great this morning. Got definitely some stuff going on with the stomach. I'll spare you guys the gory details, but not feeling feeling a little messed up. Let's see how long I last on stream. Stomach is feeling a little queasy. Remove this. Levin says, guess who's back? Back again. Zap is back. Tell some men. Guess who's back? Back again. Zap is back. Tell a friend. Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Guess who's back? So what are we doing today? I have this thing pulled up on my computer today. This is a drawing from the sketchbook, from the classic sketchbook. You know how it is. You get some sketches in the sketchbook. But I think I have the drawing process for this one in the 100K Q&A video. It's in there. And I brought it into Photoshop with a photo from my cell phone. And I traced it really quick. Let me just put this layer here so you can see. None of the details, just the major lines with a fine pen. I just did that very quickly. This morning, I did it very quickly. And I flatted it, so there's a flat shape under it. And I'm gonna paint it a bit. I'm going to try to make it a golden figure. I've had a thing for gold for like the past year and a half or so, and I don't know why, but I picture this one golden, or I want to see it golden, so we're gonna figure something out there. Let me pick what kind of, actually that should probably work out fine for a base color. Ginger can be nice to settle the stomach. Yeah, that's why I wanted some tea. I needed caffeine, but also tea makes my stomach feel a little better usually. Great artists always have health issues, LOL, Sensancia. Why would you curse me like that? Why would you say that about me, making fun of me like that? It's not an artist thing, it's a complaining, whining little mongrel thing, I think. And I'm definitely that. God, I love to complain. God, I love to whine. Why not a yellow for a base? Because for gold, from my past experience painting gold, I want to work up to yellow. Like pure yellow is really the like highlight color for gold, so I don't want to start there. I want to build up to that slowly. So I'm starting with a dark brown that, to me, when I've painted gold, is usually like, that winds up being something like the average shadow value. And then, you know, you still get some near blacks in the ambient occlusion. And then because it's gold, the intra-diffuse reflection will wind up making like hot red or hot orange highlights in the shadows. But that dark brown tends to be a good starting place for the average value of the form shadow on gold. You know, it's a very reflective material, so there's only so far diffuse modeling factor discussions will help you, right? Because it's going to reflect the environment. But yeah, yellow and white are going to dominate the center light and specular reflection of this kind of material. So I want to save that. I want to work up to that. It'll be very frustrating to paint trying to like dim that down everywhere instead of trying to build up to it. Hi, Stephen. You say to create slowly. Do you think you can create too slowly to the point where it has negative effects on your work, or is there no limit? Yeah, I think there's basically no limit. I mean, it can have negative effects on your career if you're trying to work within a realm where deadlines matter. You know, like if you're going to be a designer who's trying to deliver on deadline, you can definitely work too slowly, but the counterpoint to that is that you should be like curating your portfolio to get hired for the kind of work that you can do at a comfortable rate. Like you shouldn't misrepresent yourself in your portfolio. You know, to some extent, if you wind up getting jobs where you're working to deadlines that you're uncomfortable with, to some extent, not completely to your extent, it's always a two-way street, but you've got to acknowledge that to some extent it is your fault. You know, like you created that expectation in the client. Or, you know, you got too overeager. You knew it would be a very tight deadline, but you wanted the job anyway, so you took it. Again, I'm not saying that it's easy or even feasible really to avoid those market forces. I'm just saying that when we're talking about the way that we make work in a pure way, in the purest sense, that's really the only place where your speed matters. Outside of those considerations, yeah, I think you can work deliciously slowly, insanely slowly, really. And when I say insanely, I almost mean literally. Like, you can work slowly enough that people will write articles about you. I always think about, I forget his name, but there's a famous painter who all he did for his whole career was he wrote all the numbers, I think it was like from 1 to 1 million in sequence, almost invisible on canvases. Like, they were white canvases with tiny numbers written on them in off-white. And that was like one of the only things he did for his whole career. And you may think that that's ridiculous. You may think that that's crazy, but there's more articles written about him and that project than it's likely there will ever be about you or me for being great at drawing, you know? So it's about what game you're playing. I think that it's been a while since I've looked that up. I want to say that project was called Infinity. I forget the artist's name. Someone in the chat will know what it is. No, Labsor says, okay, but did he get rich? Checkmate. Did you get rich? Am I going to get rich off of my goblin drawings? I'm doing this a little too by the books already, I can tell. I usually don't like the way things come out when I do that, so I'm gonna mess things up a little bit, and if I don't like it, I can always start over. I can always just strip back to the base. Am I only on one layer here? Yeah, it doesn't matter. Forget it. As long as I've got the mask, I can always start over, so. Let me do my wacky soft airbrush. Goblin drawings are superior art. I'm there with you. I'm right there with you. But what does ArtNet think? What do ArtNet and Gagosian and Heritage Auctions think? Actually, they know it's great too, but they'll never admit it until we're dead, so that they can make all the money off of it. They'll keep the prices down while we're alive by saying, your goblin art is lowbrow. You're lucky it's even getting any of my attention. And then as soon as we die, they'll say, Steven Zapata's goblin art was the absolute definition of the art at the time. Hundreds of thousands of people would watch him draw goblins live on the internet. But he was so humble and gracious that he installed a YouTube plugin that made it look like only 71 people were watching him draw goblins, when the actual number was 71 million. The starting bid is $500 billion. I'm going to start with a form that I feel like I get the leg and try to establish sort of a color and value progression that I like. And then I'll start figuring out what that really means to me, how I can transfer it to the rest of the figure. The figure. Gold often has these nice pale greens and blues in it from the yellow of the gold mixing with the blue of the sky. I'm putting it in there as a shorthand because I know I like it, but technically it wouldn't be there if the sky is in a black void, but we can change the background anytime. Japanese sword, thought it was an Indian-inspired sword. It's just an abstract sword. I've surely got a lot of random inspirations floating around in my head for weaponry like that, but I wasn't thinking of anything in particular when I drew that one. A thing for gold, classic goblin, Stephen. That's very funny. It's very funny. Avid complainer, yeah, that's me. Saman says, you stole this process from Shad, Steven. That's not cool, man. LOL. Easy now. Easy. Easy on Shad. Jacob says, what a blessing watching you stream right now while I'm drawing. LOL, usually you streaming during my nap time. What do you know? Wouldn't you know it? Yeah, we're a bit earlier here than usual. I've been waking up super early though lately. I've been waking up at like 5 a.m., 5:30. Today I was up at 5:30-ish. Steven, why are bananas crooked? That is a great question. Holy crap, why are they crooked? God. I'll be thinking about that all day. Why are bananas crooked? That's very troubling. Now that I think about it, it's like, I don't know, and there's no way there's an okay reason. Like, there's no way they're crooked for a reason that's like, okay, it's definitely messed up. Like, bananas are up to some evil stuff. What'd I do to this knee here in my sketch? That sounds like some morning wake and bake thoughts. Look, let people use whatever tools they need to for their art, all right? Sometimes you just want to be a little gassed up in your early morning drawing session. I don't think I've ever streamed high. That can't be true. I must have done it at some point. Or at least not like a regular drawing stream. I'm pretty sure, like, I think I remember, I did like a New Year's Q&A stream once, and I'm pretty sure I was baked for that. Pretty sure. That was a while ago now, I don't quite remember. Stephen, a few days ago, I had a dream. You were in it. We were in my studio room, but we didn't make any art. You just started playing GTA 5 on my PC, and I just sat there, and the dream ended. Skull face. You hiding something from me? Is there a part of that dream you don't want to talk about? That's disgusting. Quit it. Get me out of your dreams. Get out of my dreams. And into my car. Get out of my dreams. Into my car. I just like watching the monitor on my sound deck. I just like seeing it flicker red when I do that. I like the little visual feedback of like, yes, you're hurting their ears. Yes, you successfully damaged their speakers. You should stream drunk. I can't do anything when I'm drunk. I would fall asleep on stream. I'm one of those people that as soon as I'm drunk, my brain begins a process of seeking bed. What are you working on here? Just a sketch? Yeah. I'm resolving questions that I have about internal feelings. Subtle, unconscious interests in particular arrangements of visual phenomena have reached a level of urgency. They must be investigated, understood, interrogated, questioned. I must know why I'm interested in this. I must resolve a way to present it with grace. You guys don't believe shit like that when you hear it, do you? You better not. It's surprisingly hot in here today. Why? It was freezing this morning. What the hell happened? Let me make sure my studio radiator isn't on. Give me 1 second. Give me a moment. I'm gonna bring a fan in here. Get out of my dreams. I'm gonna use the restroom too. Give me 1 second. Sorry guys, I really gotta go. All right, I'm back. I don't have my dog with me. Fanny's with my in-laws while because we're traveling in a light box this week. It's very sad. I don't like that. I don't like it, damn it. Do you use a reference for this pose? No, not for this one. Ooh, that fan's helping a lot. I hope that fan isn't too loud for you guys. Hey Stubby, just got to the primary shapes category in Form for Imagination. Any tips on maintaining the nice gray tone, the lit parts of the exercise? I'm maintaining the nice gray tone, the lit parts of the exercise. Been difficult for me to handle the whole contrast range. Thanks. Which part of primary shapes? Let me go to my own goddamn course here. For which part of the exercise? In doing the natural sketching with primary shapes in mind? Are you doing the toys? First part, so the bodies, right? The nice gray tone, trying to keep it across the different forms, you just have to insist on it. Now, it doesn't mean that everything has to be like, it doesn't mean everything has to be light. Tried to half copy, half invent the demos from the introduction. Yeah, that's probably a good place to start. Just remember that it's okay to have dark tones, right? Like I push in the course, like remember to compress, remember to keep it light, because people can go years missing that. You know, they never learn to do that. But it's still okay to go dark in the places where it makes sense it's dark, right? Like I also harp in the feedback all the time, like even though we're trying to push light, like you've got to make sure your ambient occlusions are dark, like actually black, because they're an absence of light. So when you're doing something as complicated as a figure, if there's like a whole section, like the back or something, that you know would be turned completely away from the light or even like almost parallel to the direction of the light source, it makes sense for that part to be black. You don't need to shy away from that. Just remember that in a, you know, the focusing on lightness aspect is really for, let's say when the back, let's say this is the back, is getting light directly, people really tend to over-exaggerate all of the value changes across all the muscles on the back and things like that, because they're exaggerating it, because they're overreacting. You've got to remember that all of those little dips are, they're barely moving, right? Like if you were looking at a cross section of your back, it's like, here's the angle of the deltoid, then here's the angle of the trapezius. Like they're actually barely different, you know, they're really not that far apart. So you want to keep that stuff light even across a very complicated form. Idris Jackson says, how long have you been counting? How long have you been counting to get to this number? Well, I started counting when I was 5. So what is that? Going on 30 years now. It took 30 years to get to this number. I've counted every drawing I've done since I was 5. Hello, Great White Sufi. How do you think art would change in sci-fi future where all combinations of pixels were already made? I don't know, but I think it would actually change it. I think it's just something people don't think about. And if it was sort of proven, if they were all generated, it's like I think it would begin a larger philosophical discussion that wouldn't really be about art, but I think it would affect art. If like, you know, if like some scientist came out one day and was like, I already did it, screw you guys, you know, I generated every possible configuration of pixels. It's maybe unsearchable, but maybe we have some key results here that we can share, and your masterpiece is hiding in here somewhere. Like it does already exist. I do think that would indeed affect people somewhat. But you'd really have to get people to sort of like tune into the conversation, and people generally don't take stuff like that seriously, you know. We had high-assed Steven, now we have high-hair Steven, still evolving, never stopping. Steven, how long are you going to be streaming today? A few more hours? Probably a couple hours. Usually when I start in the morning, I'll go till lunch. Let me color these lines real quick. Multiply. I think they'll just jive much better with the painting if they're like a dark, hot orange or red. Dark, hot, orange or red. Do you know if there's any good art schools in Germany? I'm sorry, I do not. Someone in chat may know. I'm sure there are. Germany's education system is pretty good, yeah? And I think more importantly, their education system is affordable, if I'm not mistaken. That's the real ticket. Doing that on the wrong layer, wrong layer. Zdeck says, okay, Stoob. Why do people call me Stoob? Different question. How do I leave the Boxman phase? I can't handle too much detail in ink yet. Do I up the mind resolution slightly and go for it? Or maybe something different? Thanks. Don't psych yourself out. Just do it. I know that that may sound reductive, but it's not. In this case, the reductive answer is the answer. Do not seek a method, an easy transition, a bridge between the Boxman and just drawing figures in whatever way that you want. There is no easy answer. There is no step-by-step, now add this layer, now add this layer, now add this layer, now add this layer, that works for everybody, right? There just isn't. You need to take the plunge. If you're worrying about that, if you're feeling anxiety about that, the only place that worry and anxiety could be coming from is a deep-seated fear of failure, or that you're not working optimally, or that you're not doing things right. And that fear is unnecessary and only confusing in art. And let me assure you that there is no optimal way to make art, and there is no right way to make art. So you've got to go back to the core, find a way to wipe that from the process that you're running. And I mean it, without a crutch, without having something that you feel like gives you permission to do it or that you're doing it the right way, just do it. Just give yourself the freedom to draw the way that you actually think you're supposed to draw, because whatever crutch would get you into it, the only way you're actually gonna get good at it is to put 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 hours into it. You just need to get comfortable with it. Forget the crutches, forget the systems, forget all of the hopes for objectivity, or that if I do A, B, C, D, this stuff is gonna work. It's like you're gonna seek, if you fall into that, you're going to seek an A, B, C, D process for literally every problem that comes up in art, and you'll never get anywhere. You'll absolutely never get anywhere. Push through. Just sit down with the sketchbook, make a friend of the discomfort, and draw like that. Just draw. You will find your own way. If there was a way to codify it, it would have been codified since Michelangelo. And literally every art school would be teaching the exact same thing, and they don't. No one can agree. Every art pedagogy, drawing pedagogy is completely different. You ask any two artists, they'll give you different answers about what is the most important part of draftsmanship, you know, where should you start, what order should you go in, how do you layer? No one can agree. No one can agree, because there isn't an objective answer. There just isn't. Hello, Nia. Sybil says, that makes so much sense. I find myself looking up stuff for everything and then actually never start because I'm too busy looking stuff up and trying to do A, B, C, D right. Yeah. Classic problem. Classic problem. Steve, do you think caring too much with our art is necessary? Sometimes I feel I can't finish it and keep refining and changing things. It depends what you mean by caring. Like, I think being emotionally invested is good. You should be as emotionally invested as possible, I think, which is easier said than done. But like the neurotic side of caring, like seeking perfection and things like that, yeah, that I think is not useful. Not useful and impossible and sort of kind of irrational on a deep level. But emotional investment, I think that's good. I think you should make it a priority to care as much as possible about your art, whatever it is. I don't agree with like the professionalism sentiment that you shouldn't take it personal and, you know, be detached from your art and just kind of make whatever and all that stuff. It's useful in a professional capacity maybe, but for most people, I think it's actually damaging. You just build a habit of not giving a shit about what you're making, and it's very difficult to fix that once you've built that habit. It's like, it's art. Of course you're going to care. How did we get into this position where we're tricking each other into thinking, oh, you're not supposed to care? That makes no sense. This is like a weird, very particular thing I want to get good at, and it's hard as hell. I don't like coloring my kinds of figures as flesh. So when I had the idea a while ago to try, usually I just don't color them. You know, I love black and white because it doesn't make the same demands of verisimilitude that full color does once you involve hue. But then one day it occurred to me that maybe I could get the same freedom if I painted my figures as odd materials or just as single materials, like getting the same benefits of being monochromatic that you get from being in black and white or just doing any arbitrary color but only one color. You get the same benefits while it has some verisimilitude, but it's not to a human figure. It's maybe verisimilitude to a material or to jewelry or something like that. I haven't quite cracked the nut, but that's why I've been exploring this over the past year or so. Hello, Stephen. I recently found out that Photoshop has hidden shortcut key for canvas rotation. For left, it's Alt F13 and right Alt F14. That's so weird. Well, but why is that better than just hitting R and free rotating? I mean, free rotating is fast. You mean like doing a permanent image rotation? Like instead of doing image rotation, you could do it with those hotkeys? Ben Salem Mina says, do you use some reference? Awesome work. Not right now. Not right now. But that's not because I'm some uber badass. I mean, I am, but this is not what makes me a super badass. I've painted gold before. I've painted figures before. I'm just working from my memory of how those things interact. I've painted gold before, I've painted figures before, and I've painted golden figures before. So I have memory for how those things interact. But if something starts going awry for me here, I will absolutely go grab some reference, look at some reference for gold or something like that. Right now I'm just playing with my gut reactions. Smagic says, I've been drawing every single day for the past 3 years or so. I'm very proud of that, but is it actually good for me? Sometimes it is frustrating, but I made a habit, so I just do it every day. Do you feel good about it? I mean, it's good for you if you feel good about it. If you're making work that you like, then it's fine. It's great. It's a very good thing. Is there some problem? Are you getting burnt out on the work you do or not enjoying your work? Or If you're asking the question at all, it might be time to experiment with your schedule. I mean, you've already shown to yourself you can do it, right? That you can be very disciplined. So maybe it's time to see what happens if I build up my energy for drawing for 3 days and then sort of let it explode onto the canvas in one go. Experiment. Yes and Ben says, hello Stephen, the other day I asked you who is better, correct shadows or good shapes? Now I ask, how to achieve interesting shadow shapes? Not a technique, but the mindset. What should you look for? There's very different mindsets that you could apply to that. It would depend what kind of work you're doing. Like, if you think my shadow shapes are interesting, which they are, objectively. Other people have subjectively good shadow shapes, but mine is objectively good. Sorry, I shouldn't have choked you like that. You don't know what you're doing. You're ignorant. I mean, I have to be merciful, compassionate with you. It's just that sometimes the ignorance is too much for someone like me. If you like my shadow shapes, I do a mix between thinking about them abstract and thinking about them in terms of what does the form, what shadow would the form produce? What shadow shape would the form produce? You can go to either end of the spectrum there and still get beautiful work. So you can make no abstract considerations and you can just try to calculate exactly what shadow shapes that form would produce in that lighting. And as long as you have an interesting form, you will likely get interesting shadow shapes. Now that's not guaranteed, right? A 3D modeling program gives perfectly accurate shadow shapes. And if you've done a lot of 3D, you know that often those perfectly accurate shadow shapes are boring as hell, right? So people want to edit them generally. But sometimes, yeah, just the beauty of life and the actual details of how shadows get created by an interesting form will be beautiful enough. You can go completely to the abstract side of things and just ask yourself, are these cool shapes? And the metric for that is completely subjective. It's what do you think is cool? Some people think round, fuzzy, cute shapes are cool. Other people think jagged, sawtooth shapes are cool. I split the difference. I would say when I'm sketching, I'd probably answer this part different day to day, but today, I feel like when I'm starting a sketch, my considerations are mostly what shadow would this form actually produce. I'm not slavish. I don't pretend to be a 3D modeling program where I'm actually like, all right, from this angle, the light, and then this form, and then the cross section, I don't do that. It's just like more a feeling of the form on the surface kind of a thing. And then as I progress through the drawing, I think about that less, and I think more about what shape would look cooler here. And that's also shape to shape. It asks you to compare, did I repeat a shape too many times so now it's boring when it started cool, but I spread it all over the picture, so now I need to find a different kind of shape to offset it, things like that. But yeah, I tend to begin with what shadow shape would this form actually make. And then as I move further into the picture, I think about that less and I think more abstractly and I start telling lies and making design decisions. It's just, it all so much depends on what kind of work you like to make, you know. You got to go on your journey. This lag. Awesome. Hello, Juliano Schroeder. Do you draw every day, Stephen? Most days, yeah. I do something creative every day. At this point I have to. But my schedule is I can't believe how tight my schedule has gotten. So a lot of days now, I need to do other things instead. Usually on a day where I don't draw, I do on that day still have to do feedback for my students, and that is drawing, right? I just don't consider it. Usually when people are asking me, do you draw every day, Stephen? What they're imagining is, do you draw your stuff every day? They don't mean, are you doing diagrams and edits on students' drawings? So that's why I say I don't do it every day. But usually on a day where I'm not drawing my stuff, I am doing that, which is drawing. It's just a different kind of drawing. And I like that too, because it keeps me, I don't really study so much anymore. I explore things, like this is exploratory, right? In some sense, you could say this is a study because I'm trying to figure out if I like this kind of look, how do you handle these kinds of forms and this kind of material. But in general, I rarely do fundamental studies anymore. And that's not a great thing, but it's offset by the fact that giving feedback to my students makes me still have to think about that stuff basically every day. So I like that. Because otherwise it'd be easy for me to be off in my own world and just sort of following my hand and, really for months on end probably not thinking about study stuff like the objective parts of art, that is to say, how there are no objective parts of art, but, basic shapes, lighting, things like that. It'd be easy to never consciously think about that stuff for a very long time, but by giving feedback to my students, I have to, and it's good. It reaps rewards. It keeps me sharp. We don't deserve your mercy, Stephen. You don't. And draw. Hello. Tanish says, how many hours, outside of drawing for fun, of course, would a 14-year-old have to put in to be able to get a job in concept art at the age of 18 so that he can dedicate his life to drawing? So first off, you don't need to do anything but draw for fun. How's that for throwing a wrench in your plans? And if what you're hoping to hear is outside of drawing for fun, you need to do 6 hours of fundamental studies, and this is what those look like, right? They're this kind of assignment, this kind of exercise, things like that. Nope. Sorry, buddy. It's way harder than that. It's way more complicated than that. You're very young, so I want to try to give you a meta overall viewpoint, right? In art, absolutely any path is viable and your success on that path will be based on how comfortable you can be on it and how much you can trust yourself and how much it aligns with you. But I want you to understand that any path is viable. So especially young, I would be very cautious about taking other people's paths, trying to retrod the ground that someone else have, no matter how much you respect them and like their work. You should be open to taking your own path very, very early. Yeah, you can draw your way to a career if you're thoughtful about it, no doubt. You can split it, you can spend more time studying. If you're gonna study stuff, study because you're genuinely interested in it. I would not advise studying things that you don't care about. Like, if you're gonna spend a year on perspective and you already don't care about perspective, and when you start studying it, you find you still don't care, I don't think you should spend a year on that. Spend less time on it. That might be considered sacrilege by some of my, I'm an art Navy SEAL peers. They'd be like, you've got to learn perspective. But it's like, do you really? Do you really? Maybe to make work that looks like yours, but there's plenty of successful artists who really don't rely on perspective, right? And I don't know, I'll stand by that position. It's just true. You can pull them up by the boatload. And when you're young, you don't really know what you like. You don't actually know what you're gonna like doing. So follow your nose. Don't spend long studying stuff you don't care about. You'll get much better returns studying stuff that you actually care about and find interesting. Develop deep connection with those interests. Yeah, and you'll be monster really fast, even if you're just having fun the whole time. Let me think, what else would be important to cover here? Well, the way that you're talking, you're probably not just young, you're also probably hyper competitive. So for the sake of clarity, I should let you know that I, someone who went the very hard studying route, objective, tricking myself into thinking things are objective, learning perspective, inside it out as much as I could, values, all of this stuff, trying to objectify design and things like that. I was regularly trounced, skill-wise and career-wise, by people much younger than me who never gave a fuck about studying. They just happily drew their way past my drawing level. And it's because they weren't distracted. They were just really deeply invested in the vibe, I was like some boring prog rock band and they were Nirvana, So yeah, that might tickle your competitive sensibility. I don't think there's anything wrong with being competitive about how much you are personally self-invested and self-interested in your artwork. I think that's bad for other parts of the world, but I think art is basically the only safe place where you're free to be as narcissistically self-interested in what you like as is possible. Don't do that in your relationships or if you're a politician. There's different considerations. I hope that helps. If it doesn't, abandon me. Forget I ever said anything. Only listen to what serves you. In art. Only listen to what serves you in art, not in everything. Hello, Renoda. Kieran says, how did you get so good at shading? A lifetime's obsession with it. If only it hadn't come to that. That would have been nice. I could have got good at so many other things. We don't choose what we're interested in. what I have going on this underarm over here. Yeah, it's not super helpful. Do you have any recommendations for marketing art? The number one priority is actually have good work. If your work is mediocre, pushing it aggressively might actually hurt you in the long run. That doesn't mean don't push it, you know, still some amount of pushing, but you know, a huge overinvestment in like paying for ads and Instagram posts and YouTube videos and all this when you have mediocre work can it can incentivize the wrong things as you move forward and distract you from actually upping the actual quality of your work. There's definitely something to be said for like, this is too broad. This isn't true for everybody. This is just a general piece of advice, but there's definitely something to be said for the idea of start marketing your work after people are already coming to you for it on their own. Does that make sense? Like, I didn't start teaching art until I started getting about a message every 2 or 3 days of somebody asking me to teach them art. Like that's when I knew I'm probably ready, right? I started selling prints once people started asking me regularly, can I buy a print? When I made my YouTube channel, I'd already had many people unprompted tell me you should make a YouTube channel, like you'd be really good for it. That's not the only way to operate. Like I said, there's absolutely grounds for saying, screw everybody, you know, I'm giving them what they don't know they want, right? That's absolutely legit, very artistic, very bohem, very cool, mwah, love it. But that's not how I did it. And it's just like, as a broad statement, people will let you know when you're ready for that kind of a thing. It's so hard with art, you know, even putting it that way with all that couching, I'm like, yeah, but there is also plenty of reason to just kind of like believe in yourself and just market something that no one's asking for too. It's complicated, man. Sun's right in my eye. Yeah. Did that darken my camera too much? No, it's all right. Oh, what are they doing? Modern day James says I love being uncomfortable. That's why I took all the cushions off my couch. Modern day James sitting right on the springs. The spring's going up his asshole. The spring's going up his asshole. Oh, thank you, Las Vegas. You're too kind. You're too kind. This is my residency now, so I'll be here for the next 6 years singing my hit, Modern Day James Sitting on a Spring. Thank you. And now, everybody, a very special guest, Lady Gaga. Modern Day James Sitting on a Spring. That's not what Lady Gaga sounds like, but James gets it. How you doing, James? James, you going to Lightbox this year? I feel like I've heard you say no, you're not. I love doing these little triangular interior corners. I don't know why. They're like a little, I just like them. There's a little, I like that form interaction. I don't know what to tell you. It's just the way I am. What would Lady Gaga sound like? James, James on a spring. James, James on a spring. James, James on a spring. He's on a spring. See, that's not actually what she would look like. That's just that concept laid over Bad Romance. So, hack comedy. That's hack comedy. I know that you're all expecting high quality, non-hack comedy here. That's why you're here. You're definitely not here for the art. Nobody likes the art because nobody likes any art. So, things are adding up. Candlewick says, small stream today? What the hell is that supposed to mean? The hell is that supposed to mean, small stream today? I see the kind of guy Candlewick is. Likes to come into where people work and be like, not too busy around here today, huh? Oh, look at that. Looks like nobody cares about you. That's the kind of person you are, Candlewick? Cool, cool. No, real, I'm glad you showed us up front. That's all I'm saying. Nice. Cool. Good to know, good to know. Look at the volume and everything that you do. And it was all yellow. I don't have a good, I didn't really do much of a value plan for that head and arm area. It's kind of just a generalized gray tone. I didn't really plan that out nicely. Artist suffers from lack of planning? Shocking. Shocking. No, damn it. 1 second, I closed my stream. I can just reopen that. Yeah, right, now we're talking. There we are. Gabuda Ichimuda says, I have my first 2 commissions. One is almost completed. My concern is trying to find a defined direction because I have a myriad of options for selling. Yeah, what's it called? Option paralysis, indecision paralysis. There's a phrase for that. You just got to pick something and roll with it. Because once you're in that mode as an artist, what you really are is like an entrepreneur, small business owner. That's what you secretly are. So yeah, there's just all sorts of, there's so much to do, you know, so many things to try, so many things to keep up. It's hard, but it's a good situation to be in. I gotta make chat bigger. These old man eyes of mine can't handle it. Steven, how old are you? I need to compare ages to feel better about myself. Yeah, James is correct. I'm 19. I'm 19 years old. I am 19 years old and I started drawing 2 months ago. Oh, I drew those lines, I see. Oh, I see. Reduce the opacity on these guys. Hey, Beaver Zapata, how do I draw form from imagination? Thanks for the layup, buddy. You get the course. Obviously, you get the course. That's the obvious answer. You know, I'm something of a form from imagination myself. Do you have any experience with mentorship? I do. I'm considering joining a program that I would pay for, but it kind of seems like a scam. Here's what I'll say. You don't, mentorship with people who are sort of offering a program right now is not your only option. And if you don't feel comfortable with it, don't do it. Anyone who's offering you some amount of mentorship should be able to get in touch with them by email and just get more detail or something like that. Shouldn't be that difficult. I know when I was doing mentorships, I always responded to people, and there was plenty of people who emailed me with like, do you think this is right for me? And I told them honestly, based on what they had laid out for me or their skill level, I was like, no, I don't think I'm the right person for you. So hopefully you should be able to get in touch with them, and an earnest agent in that situation should be willing to tell you that they don't think it's gonna work out. But yeah, you also don't need to do it just with people who have it offered up. You can approach mentors or people you want to be your mentor. You can approach them with the concept and see what they think. When I was in school at Art Center, I wanted to do an independent study for one of my semesters. It wound up being a bit of a surprise. I needed it to fill a gap in my schedule that was unexpected. So I had to kind of quickly think of who I would do it with. And on a lark, basically, because I was like, there's no way he'll say yes, I asked Ryan Meinerding, who was already the head of visual development at Marvel at the time. I just messaged him on Facebook and just like, hey, would you want to do this? Like, I don't even think he had seen my work. I must have sent him something, but I honestly don't remember sending him a folio when I did it. And he said, yeah. He was like, yeah, fuck it, let's do it. And I got to learn a lot from him for a semester. So in that situation, I didn't offer him money, right? Because I was doing it as an independent study through school. He went to the same school as me, Art Center, so there's a little bit of there's a little bit of pull there, right? He went to school there. He wants to keep helping people from school. The school is going to pay him a bit of money. If you're doing it to people you don't know, it's not weird. They're busy people. It's a professional mentorship, right? I mean, not for everybody, but for a lot of people who are going to look for a mentor in this niche, in this world, you want professional help. You're trying to get a job out of this and stuff like that. Offer money. Put it in the first email, actually. Like, if you know how much you could offer them, this may sound kind of cynical or something like that, but I just think it's undeniably true. You're much more likely, you are much more likely to get a response if what's in it for them is in there off the bat, right off the first message. And yeah, I mean, most people, even really high-end artists, they're not rich, you know, there's not that much money in the design realms and things like that for people who make drawings and paintings and things like that. So you might be surprised who you could get on the hook with, you know, offering them some money. You know, even the best people in this world, they can struggle to stay middle class. So yeah, you might surprise yourself. What exercises do you recommend for learning anatomy? If you've never done it before, definitely just the écorché tracings, the classic, like take a master study or take a photo and put a piece of tracing paper over it or do another layer in Photoshop and just lay the muscles over. The classic is still the best there. That's the most direct way to learn your muscles and the way they can flex and move and where they can wind up. If you've never done it before, that's absolutely the place to start. And then after that, the same thing again, but doing it in 3D, you know, sculpting either a skeleton or a flayed figure is usually very useful for people. I haven't done did I do a full? I don't think I did a muscle skeleton when I studied with Ray Bustos. Yeah, I don't think I did muscles. I did just skeleton. I sculpted a skeleton. And I definitely, you know, remember the bones after that. I don't think I've ever sculpted like a muscle at crochet. Thumbauer says, how much money should one offer? I'll be honest with you, it's difficult to give an answer for that. People live in different places, they have different purchasing power, and then it gets cross-contaminated with where the artist you're asking lives, what's the exchange rate there. It's very complicated. I will say, you should think of it as a premium product, right? I mean, if you're asking a pro artist who you really like to mentor you and you expect them to really put in some time, like giving a critique takes a long time. It really does. When I give feedback in my course where everything is pre-laid out for you, where I've given you the learning objectives, where I'm determining the assignment that you sent me, it still often takes me over an hour to give feedback on like a cylinder. I mean, if you really want the artist to be invested and you're expecting to send them stuff that they didn't define, work that you have this whole internal contraption going in your head for, you should expect them to, it takes a long fucking time to give feedback on stuff if you're getting good feedback. So, yeah, you should consider it a premium product, and I think you should reach. It shouldn't feel cheap. It should hurt the amount that you're offering them. You know, that's my opinion. If I was going to reach out to someone at this point in my career, someone to coach me, someone to mentor me, I've had the benefit of having many great mentors over my career. I don't have someone right now who I would say we're in a mentorship situation. I might be interested in that in the future. If I did do that, I would offer a lot, you know. The thing is that it's different for me because that's also a write-off because this is my job, right? So I could write that off, but I would offer a lot. I would offer tens of thousands of dollars for the year easily, I would say. But I'd also be looking at I'd be looking at high-end people. But yeah, it's so hard because it depends where you're at, who you're asking, where you live. But yeah, just to give you something to go off, if I was going to do it, in my email, I'd be like, I could pay you, you know, a 5-digit sum is what I would expect to pay for quality coaching. And I'd do it on a long timeline like that. Maybe you have different needs or expectations or something like that, but I would try to enter like a year-long relationship. For me, students need, it's different depending on where you're at, but you know, I know how long art takes to make, you know, so if I'm gonna get in a relationship like that with somebody, it'd be for a long term and be like measured in years, you know. A good mentor for 1 year could save you 20 years? Yeah, no doubt. Hire them like a live-in chef? Yeah, think like that. It's like, it shouldn't be cheap. Why would it be cheap, you know? Are you kidding me? Another stream? Yeah, that's right. Craig Mullins is looking for work, apparently. Hire him. This is your chance. Get that Mullins painting. Craig Mullins is looking for work, yeah. If I'll tell you this, by the time you've seen a post from Mullins that he's looking for work, he's not looking for work anymore. Craig, I can send CV Mullins. Yeah. Send you his 80 megabyte CV. It's a 200-page PDF. I bet you he can't make a CV. I bet you his CV still doesn't have everything he's done on it. I'm sure Craig Mullins every day is like, oh yeah, that's right, I did that. You know, completely forgot about stuff. Who do you think a high-end mentor for would be? Do you think God will be interested in your filthy money? Are you kidding me? I could offer God something. Eternal soul. Something like that. You know, let's not assume God is without his price. Let's hear the price, God. But you'd make a good mentor. The truth is that I feel we're all being mentored by God every day when we step outside. He's telling you the secrets, whispering them into your ear on every walk. There's so many people. I mean, if you're asking me, like, what's the list of people who I would want to be mentored by? It's extremely long. I mean, there's so many incredible artists out there. Noah Birkland, Steven, should I clean my room and rearrange my bed or draw right now? Ooh, boy. Which God will you serve? Which God will you serve? I work for the God of drawing. It's time to draw, Noah. It's time to draw. Mizubi says, sorry if you already said this, but what does a mentor look for in a student? Humility, not straying too far off the lines? I think it would vary artist to artist, but, and this may sound like a sort of, like an Ouroboros thing, like pulling yourself up by your own bootstraps things. But for me, it's truly potential, you know, but potential can come in all sorts of forms. I think, yeah, what inspires a mentor most is if it's clear you have potential. Maybe you already make very good work. Maybe you got very good very fast. Maybe you have like an ambitious goal. You know, it can come in all sorts of shapes and sizes, but definitely for me, potential, great potential is what would excite me in a student. Someone who has really good ideas always feels like they have great potential, even if their work is not great yet. Great ideas are hard to come by, and usually someone who can have great ideas, encapsulate them, present them, given enough time, they can kind of do anything. So they're always a safe bet. Thank you, Gabuda. Motherman says, I've been taking Ahmed Al-Duri's meds map and it's changed me from noob to intermediate. Can you talk about him for a damn emoji heart is in my way. Can you talk about him for a little? I'm assuming that's saying. What's he been up to? Med's great. One of my oldest friends. I saw him recently. I think he's gonna be at Lightbox. I think he has said that. I'm actually not 100% sure. But I'm not surprised that his course helped you out. He the best. As to what he's up to, I'm not keeping perfect track of everything that he has said online, so I'm not going to talk about that because I don't know what he has said. I need to use the restroom again. I will be right back. Oof, my guts, my guts, my guts. I feel good while I'm sitting down, but then as soon as I stood up, I was like, oh, what's going on down there? Oriana V says, why do so many artists go into teaching eventually? Is it a need for money or like a calling? Can you just be a senior artist for life? If, for example, you work remote so the industry pay is good enough? Yeah, you can absolutely do that. Tons of artists do. Artists that, you know, there's a lot of artists that do that and you'll never know about them. You don't see them online because they don't share. They're just in their job, doing their thing. You know, when they lose a job, they don't rely on like, their social media to get the next job. They go from recommendation to recommendation. Their friends hook them up. There's so many artists like that that rock too. They're like really good at art. And you'll never know about their work unless you meet them at a studio or you work with them on a project. There's tons of artists like that. As to why do so many artists go into teaching? Yeah, there's the calling thing. There's the money thing, but also it's fun. Teaching is, for a lot of artists, teaching is can be more fun than the day job, you know? The day job, there's a trade-off, right? Like with professionalism comes a sort of professional jadedness, a sort of like distance from projects and things like that. And it's not just you, the artist, it's everyone, right? Your art director's like, it'll be fine. You know, well, here's the thing, it'll work out. You know, that's just like, you can find yourself on a lot of projects end to end to end to end to end where that professional energy is sort of suffusing everything. And I don't know how else to put it, it just can get a little boring. And it can also slide into hard cynicism. But students are pure. They're usually wherever you cross them in their path, they're not cynical yet. They're going for their dream, right? And it's all new and fresh and exciting. And they're usually, yeah, they're just not jaded. You know, they've got like this beautiful, just like faith in the whole thing and they can make it work and they want to do something weird. And you only got to interact with that a few times before you, like I said, it's fun. You know, you're just like, that's a lot more fun than a lot of other things. Steven, how do you stop being jaded? I don't know. I don't know. Wish I had a good answer for that. It's tough. I mean, people are jaded about different things, right? So there's no blanket stuff to say about it. Usually some life event needs to shake you out of it. I hate to say it, but in my experience, that's true. And usually not a fun life event. Problem is that usually the things people are jaded about are frickin', they're true, you know? So it becomes a thing where for each individual, you've sort of got to, you got to find your own reasons for keeping going every day, you know? It's like if you've got a little angry manifesto that you can write about all the stuff that you're jaded about, usually everything that you would write in there, it's like you're partially right about all that stuff, you know? It's just not useful to sink into it. Oriana says, thanks, Stephen. Love that you find the time for answering all these questions for us. It's really helpful. Hey, no problem. Damn, it's getting harder and harder to read at this distance. I have to start wearing my glasses during stream soon. I should go to the eye doctor. I haven't had my prescription checked in a long time. Oops. How can you add more meaning into art besides pretty photo goes burr? There's all sorts of ways, but for most people, it's to make it more personal. That's where you should probably start. That's not the way everyone does it, though. Some people, you know, some people make art for political reasons, you know, and it's more personally meaningful for them to do that. God help them. God help them. You can make art for all sorts of reasons. Have you ever tried sporting long hair? I had very long hair in high school, but not since then. Trying to figure out if I like the shapes I have on the stomach from the sketch, if I want to redesign them. Stephen, have you taken any inspiration from Wayne Barlow's work? I've seen it. Seen a lot of it. It's definitely in there in the unconscious. I don't know how much I've, depends what you mean by inspiration. I haven't I don't know if I've directly studied his work or copied it or anything like that. But Wayne's stuff is awesome. Hello, Isam. Yagi says, hi, have a good day. I love your art. Oh, thank you. When I see the sphery bump underneath the armpit, it seemed something weird about it. Yeah, this is not supposed to be a normal figure. It's just the other transmogrifications are not in place yet. Probably looks more unified there. Yeah, it's clearly, well, I hope clearly it's not supposed to be a normal armpit. It is supposed to be like a big bulbous protrusion. Hopefully that'll read better once you see all the weird stuff that's going to happen on the arms, deltoids, things like that. I like this weird layering that's going on in the feet. It's just while I'm laying in the base values, I haven't gone in and created those breakups yet. Get a little more reflective light on that baby there. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I think I'm pretty close to merging these lines down. They're not helping me that much anymore. Cheese is more important than gold. Wow. Wow. Cheese. What kinds of other weird shapes can I make in here? Platforms. Thumbauer says, Stephen, hard to put into words, but have you ever had the joy of discovering a new drawing tempo, like a rhythm of strokes that somehow gives a totally new feel to your art? Yeah. That's fun stuff, man. I remember the first time I tried drawing as slow as I could bear. That was like that. That was weird. And I had a lot of fun with that for a while. I remember where I was. I remember what I was drawing. I was drawing Wolverine. And being like, whoa. You can get good lines drawing really slow, too. Ishan says, yo, Steven Snur. Hello, Ishan. Sanzia says, the Lord of all that is golden. Stephen, what if someone decided to follow your advice and just draw the pictures he wants to be making? What will be your advice to navigate all the negative emotions that carries? I think if you actually did it, you'd find the negative emotions reduce quite a bit. It is, I'm not calling you all at all, Yassine. I just think this is a teachable moment. Like, don't you guys find it interesting that that's a reaction at all? Don't you guys find that interesting? That our current cultural milieu, that the energy around drawing in this day and age can make it a thing of any interest at all to say, what if someone decided to follow your advice, your edgy advice, to just draw the pictures they want to be making? Doesn't that seem deeply backwards on a certain level? Do you guys get what I'm saying? I think it's very strange that we live in a time where you can have that reaction to the idea of just drawing what makes you happy. That's very strange. That's very strange. Hi, Stephen. Hope you're doing great. Thank you, Dessa. Hope you're doing great too. I loved your TEDx talk and I love your style and work in general. It might not mean much from a stranger, but I just want to say I'm really proud of you. Oh, thank you. It does mean a lot. That's sweet. Thank you. That is a strange thing to hear from a stranger, that they're proud of you. I don't take it for granted. Yassine says, because I tried it, and it really is frustrating and painful, having an idea, a drawing in your mind, and not being able to execute it. I know, yeah. Whenever I talk about, when we talk about doing 50-50 around here, spending half your time studying, half your time doing your own pictures, I often say, like, really the ideal split might be 90-10, 90% of your time spent doing your own pictures, but I don't say that because the 90% would be almost excruciating for most artists, you know? And again, I think that's conditioning. That is the result of a complex series of assumptions and expectations that have been built into us since childhood, basically. But yeah, it is frustrating and painful, and that's valid, but know that it's not necessary. I know I sound like a broken record on this stuff, but I really don't know what other way to tackle it from. The issue is the assumption that you have an idea and you should be able to execute it from your mind. Now, at this point. If you think about what you would say to a friend about this, it would probably be easy for you to tell a friend, it makes sense that you can't do it yet. You're not a master. Of course, the people who you love and respect in art make it look easy. They're masters. They've been doing it forever. It makes sense that you can't do it. You'll get there. Take it easy. Have fun with it. Like, you could probably, if you were talking to a friend, you would probably say everything I would say. But we resist living by that or extending that same courtesy to ourselves. When it comes to us, we do this weird form of self-aggrandization that I think is actually quite dark and sinister. Like, it's easy for us to say those things to our friends, but then when we look at ourselves, we're like, but not for me. For me, it's gotta be the best. For me, I better be the fucking best. For me, I better never make a bad thing. Everybody needs to view me as great, 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 great right from the start. And I think that that is subtly underneath everything, a sort of form of arrogance. And it's a difficult thing to suss out. And certainly artists need some healthy amount of ego, which makes this very complicated, but I just can't get over that. I really think that that is what is operating under there. If you could accept that you are a beginner or a low intermediate, and that if your drawings are not up to par with your taste, that actually makes 150% total fucking sense and is actually the only rational way things would be going. If you could actually make peace with that and inhabit that, I think you would stop worrying about it so much. And if you could trust that, all right, at the end of years of hard effort, and exploring the things that I love and care about and I'm interested in art very carefully, I will improve, right? And doing my own pictures teaches me what I need to improve on, and specifically how much I need to improve on them. I mean, I think the whole thing corrects itself. And it always comes off the rails again and again and again and again when you return to, but yeah, not for me, motherfucker. I'm special, I'm different, I'm supposed to be good from day one, I'm supposed to be good faster, I can't bear to not be good. It's fine for everybody else, but it's the best or bust for me. And the irony of that is that literally every artist feels that way. Like that feeling is imbued with this emotional valence of specialness and one-itis for yourself. And the truth is that every artist feels that way. It's not special. It's the opposite. It's the norm, and it's what derails everybody's peace and everybody's focus and their ability to keep going. I have a lot of difficulty sort of compromising on these points or sort of meeting people halfway on them. I think that so long as you do not accept this, you'll still get through your journey. You'll still make it through beginner, you'll still make it through intermediate, you'll get to advanced if you just put in the time, but you'll suffer the whole way through. And the only way to avoid the suffering is to right that foundational bad assumption at the core of all of that. It's like, it's okay to suck. You're exactly as good as you're supposed to be. There's no counterfactual hypothetical you who is better than you are now with the same life experience and practice. There just isn't. You're exactly as good as you're supposed to be. And when you practice enough, you'll be better. And it's that simple. And the problem with art is just that it occurs on a time scale that is longer than what most people think about. So they get paranoid and they freak out and they overreact to the mind chatter and they take it seriously and they stray, you know? What's painful is hearing the people who feel they've been doing art for 10 years and no improvement. Yeah, I don't know. I have a complicated relationship to that. I don't want to piss anyone off, but when I see people say that online, I disregard that. it's easy stuff to make up. I have had the good luck of being able to cohabitate with and be right next to artists who I actually see them working day to day. So I know they're actually doing art for 10 years. And to a person, they all improve. Absolutely everybody improves. I don't know a single. And that includes, you know, to put, you know, my piece of shit personality on display. People who, when I met them at the beginning of their journey, I was early on too, and I was a young guy, I was a piece of shit. I was just like, this person sucks and they'll never get better. Like, they're just garbage, and which is funny because I suck too. But I was just like, they don't have it, they don't have the mind for it, they blow, they're not going to improve. And to a person, every single one of them, the people who I would have thought they don't have the mental framework to improve at art, to a person, every single one of them, the ones that I was actually next to them and I watched them do art for 10 years, actually drawing, they all got better, and monumentally better. They all improved vastly. I've never met anyone that I know personally that I can actually verify that they have worked hard on art. I don't know a single person who actually didn't improve from doing it for that long. I really don't. It doesn't happen. I don't think it happens. It's easy to complain online about something that you didn't do. I don't know those people. Maybe they're telling the truth. I might be in environments that are self-selecting sets. I understand all of that stuff is true, but I'm just telling you what I'm seeing from my end. On a fun note, Steven, do you often make up anatomy and non-existent muscles out of fun? Do you remember at which point you realized fictional anatomy works as well, if not better? Yeah. I mean, constantly. I mean, on most of the work you guys see me do here, I'm constantly adding stuff that isn't real, doesn't make sense. More and more, I'm hunting for the abstraction. You know, I like, you know, maybe I haven't achieved it yet here, but I love areas like this, or what I'm going for there, where it feels like abs, but it's not abs. I like riding that line with the figure now, where I'm like, how much can I push it? How much can I turn it into just random Baroque filigree? And the mind, it's just enough that the mind is still like, those are abs. And I like doing that everywhere. Yeah, that's a lot of fun for me. When did I realize that? Well, I was probably always doing it a little bit. My uncle had some drawings he had done up in my cousin's childhood home, where I spent a lot of time with them. He had sketched and drawn as a hobby, and he had a few of his drawings up, and he was very, you know, much older than I am, but he was very influenced by surrealism, straight surrealism, Salvador Dali and stuff like that, and he liked figures, he liked anatomical figures, so he had some sketches up around the house. I never knew him. He had passed by the time I was a kid. But they had some of his sketches around the house that had figures that were transmogrified. If you think of Salvador Dali's transformed figures, very similar to that. So I think that put the idea in my head very early on. And then I started leaning into it very heavily once I felt like I had real anatomy under my belt, like once I felt like I got it, Then I started leaning into abstraction more and more just because it's fun and it just gives you new stuff to play with and new ideas to mess around with. But yeah, you've also got to consider that my professional world is the world of design and entertainment design. It has, you know, a lot of creatures in it and stuff like that. So the idea of just like, yeah, you're not just depicting a figure as known. That's been with me a very, very long time. That's just norm in entertainment design, or else you wouldn't need a designer, you know. Steven, everything on the internet is true though? Shh. You serious? Are you serious? Artro, can you confirm that? I actually didn't know that. Is that true? Shit. Shit. Damn, I hope that's not true, because if that's true, I gotta go. There's some stuff I gotta handle. The following to a statement like that, I'll usually see asked, do you have examples of what you've been doing for 10 years? Yeah, I mean, it's cruel. I'm not gonna say that's not cruel for someone who's in that headspace, but most of the time, yeah, that's true, that's true. Thanks, Stephen. I didn't want to upset you with my questions. No, I'm never upset when I talk about that stuff. I'm just heated because I find that stuff is throwing artists astray. I'm not personally upset. I'm annoyed that that's sort of what we've come to in art education and things like that. So, but no matter how obvious the answer is, sometimes you are not able to accept it when things get dark. So yeah, thanks. Well, I think it's worse than that. Here I go getting heated again. It's worse than you can't accept it when things get dark. People won't accept it ever. That's the problem. People will make art for 20 years, never accepting it. And so they'll spend 20 years suffering through it for no good goddamn reason. That's the real problem. That's the true darkness. Stephen, when will I know I've reached the skill to be ready for work? Make an honest portfolio that doesn't misrepresent your skills. So don't put any level of work there that you're not actually comfortable doing, right? Like if you hate rendering, don't put rendered stuff in your portfolio. Don't lie in your portfolio or online saying, oh, I did this in a week when you actually did it in 2 months, right? People love lying about this stuff. I don't know why. If you are honest in your portfolio, you'll know you're ready because someone will email you wanting to pay you for the work. It's that simple. You can only find yourself in a situation where it's relevant that you are not ready for work if you began the lies. If you either did stuff in your portfolio that you actually don't want to spend time doing, or if you misrepresented what skill sets you used and things like that, or if you lied about how long it took you to do. As long as you make an honest portfolio, which is difficult for people. People are really inclined to lie because they are trying to make the portfolio they think people want rather than a portfolio of their work. As long as you make a portfolio of your work, you're good. Just you know you're ready as soon as you get the job. It's that simple, you know? Artro says, would you say you're happily at a point where you can engage in a certain level of play with the craft that is not much holds back that feeling of fundamental? Yeah, for sure. I feel that way. I may be wrong. People, the audience may look at the stuff that I do and be like, ugh, he's not ready to fuck around with it like that, but it's not up to them, is it? It's about how I feel, so. Pets Cop says, Stephen, I'm able to draw the forms of the face, the features in isolation, and the face in general. But when I put everything together and render it, it all falls apart and it looks shit. Any advice? I will draw the forms of the face, the features in isolation, and the face in general. But I put everything together and render it. It all falls apart. Or you're talking just the face. You're not talking about including the rest of the figure. If it's true, you got the forms down, you got the features in isolation, but the whole portrait falls apart. It's the classic thing where we talk about all the time. the abstract buildup is not the final result. It isn't. Nothing prepares you for the final, but the final. So that's not to say that that preparation wasn't useful. It surely will be, and it is going to make you better. But you're probably getting a little impatient thinking that you were supposed to arrive good at the full portrait because you got good at the preceding elements. No, that never happens. That never happens. You ate your vegetables, you need to do your homework, but you must still practice the portrait as such on its own. No stop, no other qualifiers, no equivocation. If you want to be good at the portrait, no matter what else you do, you must rehearse the portrait. And the same goes for everything. You want to be good at comics, you need to do the comic. If you want to be good at shorts, you need to do the shorts. If you want to be a good filmmaker, you need to make films. Like all the other preparations, again, can be useful, but there is absolutely no such way to do abstract preparations such that when you go for the gusto, the creative thing that you think you're supposed to be doing, there is no way to have done them such that you will be good right at the start when you try them, if you've only done the abstract preparations for. That's why I always say, don't waste your time at any point in your career only studying. Don't do that. Always be doing the kinds of pictures you think you want to be making. You know, it hurts. It hurts to be attempting the pictures and they don't look the way you wish they did, but do you really think there's any other way to get good at them, you know? Goodbye, Charlie. Good luck with your inking. Do you have any tips for capturing pencil drawings accurately through a camera, assuming I'm using a phone? Can't seem to keep my pictures from dying to the lens. If you're using a phone, first off, you can get apps that let you control the settings on your phone camera more precisely. Your phone might let you do it, but I think the iPhone doesn't. So maybe get one of those apps that gives you more control. If you Google that, you'll find stuff. But turn off the denoising feature for pencil drawings. Like an iPhone has pretty aggressive denoising on it as a standard to smooth things out, because those tiny phone cameras, they boost the ISO to keep everything light. The thing is that pencil strokes are so close together and so grainy that the algorithm that they're running for denoise interprets them as noise. And so it smooths them out into these gross splotches of value and fucks up the drawing. So first off, turn off the denoise so that it maintains the separation between the individual strokes. You can also sharpen the photos afterwards. The main problem most people have besides that is that they're not shooting under bright enough light. People don't understand how useful very bright light is for cameras. So try to shoot under the brightest light you can find, where you can still get it kind of diffused so that you don't get hot spots of glare. Scanning is really the best there to avoid glare because it evens everything out. But what I like to do is, if I'm gonna take a photo of a pencil drawing where it kind of matters, I will usually shoot it in front of an open window that has indirect sunlight coming in through it. That's very bright, but it's diffused by the sky. It's not like a sunbeam hitting the picture, so I usually won't get a hot spot of glare, and that's the brightness makes it easier on the camera. It needs to run less denoising, it needs to process the picture less aggressively. That usually looks better. If you want to get really specific, you get lights, and you can make a permanent little setup where it's like, I'm always gonna shoot my pencil drawings here. And basically you need to play with it. You've got to angle the lights right so that the picture is evenly illuminated and it doesn't glare back at the phone. If you're trying to go professional with it, and again, for some reason, you don't want to scan your images, maybe you're drawing way too big and you don't want to put them through a roll scanner, what people usually do is you polarize the lens on your camera. Now at this point you can't use a phone, but you can get an SLR. You put a polarizing lens on your camera, and you can put polarizing filters on the lights. And then if those are the only two lights in the room, so it's got to be dark, right? Those have to be the only two lights in the room, the rest of the room blacked out. If those are the only two lights on the room and you angle them correctly, I think it's 45 degrees at the paper, the polarization of the light source and the polarization of the polarizing filter on the lens, you can literally remove the glare from a pencil drawing. It will be impossible for the glare to get through the polarizing filter and get to the lens of the camera. You can do the same trick for oil paintings. You can photograph oil paintings without the sheen of the oil by using that method. But to do that, you kind of have to set it up permanently, because you're never gonna, it's tricky to set up. You're never gonna do it twice. You're not gonna do it if you have to tear it down and set it back up every time. So you need like a permanent spot in your studio or the corner of your house where that setup just stays, and you plop something there and you take the photo. Was I just talking about how to avoid glare in photos for like half an hour? I feel like I just disassociated like crazy. All right, we're coming up on lunchtime here, so I'll be on for another 5 or 10 minutes. We're creeping up on 3 hours of stream here, so if anyone's got any last questions, throw them in the chat. We did some good progress on this guy. I definitely need to sort of let him sit and look at him with fresh eyes, but it's not that far off from what I was imagining. Whenever I paint, well, the thing with reflective things like gold and metal is that they are super noisy. I mean, the reflections confuse the form. It's like literally what reflections do. They confuse the form. They obfuscate the diffuse reflection. But I need to find a way to go in here and sort of ride the line and balance things out so they're a bit clearer. It's very broken up, too broken up right now. But as a base, I don't know. I don't hate it. Probably soften this whole area. Now you got to pick a dominant. It's like, do I really need that to be that noisy when this is so noisy? No, I should probably let that sing, flatten that out. We'll probably have to decide if we want a background that jives with how we're painting the metal too. I mean, if we were really going to be this black background, there should be more black in the gold. It should be reflecting the studio in more places. Or we can exaggerate the little implications I have of a sky reflection and put them in some sort of a environment. But yeah, the question would be, what environment would that be? Then we're getting into real like painting, and not really sure how much I want that. What's for lunch? I don't know. I don't know what I have, actually. was at the supermarket 2 days ago too, and I think I forgot lunch stuff. God dang. For me, having a separate document I work from where it's an intended space to fail helps ease that feeling of discomfort. You gotta make it easy to fail, easy to mess up. It's okay. You know, I try to set an example there. You know, I'm willing to go live online and fail in front of people every day. Hasn't ruined my life, you know? You guys, if you guys look through the streams, you guys see me crank out turkeys all the time. Just, you know, stuff that's not my best, stuff that sucks. Like, there's a part of that I hope can help people. You know, if you know, you might be like, oh, Steven, you already have a career. It's like, yeah, I have a career. Do you think is it necessarily a given that I would be perfectly comfortable, you know, drawing live, doing stuff from scratch that I don't know if it's gonna work out and stuff like that? You think so? No, you know? And I still do it. It's okay, you know? It has not ruined my life. You guys out there, you know, you're not streaming, you're just working in your room in your studio. Like, what could the big deal be about failing? About just doing one that's not your best? Just draw, baby. Would you like to be made out of gold temporarily? For sure, for sure. Do you have a favorite side of the jaw that you chew your food with? The fuck? The right side. Nate says, are you excited for Lightbox? Hell yeah, I am. I am. It'll be fun. I gotta get my sleep. I just gotta sleep good before. I gotta plan ahead for the jet lag. If I don't do that, I'm gonna be tired on the first couple of days of the show. I won't be catching up until, the end of the show. So I gotta plan ahead for that this week. Damn, that's only a few days away. I gotta pack and stuff. I gotta get ready. Thank you, Reinola. Thank you, Tanish. Are you going to share your lunch with chat? No. This isn't my old Twitch days where I used to eat on stream. Now I like to calmly eat my food in peace. I did 3 hours of streaming, of making art, of talking art. That's all right. That's okay. I can eat. Truman says, Steven, what would you say to someone with enough artistic skill who suddenly wants to be a mangaka? Do you know anything about that industry? I do not. I know so little that I actually don't know what it means when, like, if you're not Japanese, what does it mean when you say you want to be a mangaka? I'm sorry if that sounds rude or ignorant. I know so little about that. I don't know what that, I'm being genuine. I don't know what that means. Is there like a thing in that industry where, is that like a specific, like, do you mean like you want to be in the Japanese manga market? Is that what that means? Unless you are Japanese and that just makes sense. Like when people say that, I don't know if they mean a title or a thing that they're doing or a specific market that they're in. I just don't know what that means. Like if that just means, if you're just saying mangaka is meaning like someone who makes comics, like do whatever you want, you know? If you mean get into the Japanese manga market, I have no idea what that looks like for someone who's not Japanese and isn't in Japan or anything like that. I really have no idea. It's interesting that you base your environment off your character, not the other way around. Well, it's just, it could go either way. I mean, you either just need to decide if they're sympathizing or not, right? If you really care about that, if that's with your objectives for the piece. And then it doesn't matter what way you're doing it. It's just like the laws of light will affect those conclusions there, whether you do it with the character first or the environment first. It's like if the environment is predominantly blue, you've got to get blue in the shadows and things like that, you know? Pablo says, Steven, I have been painting with oils and I feel like I can actually understand color, finally. And I feel like it doesn't overwhelm me as digital art does. How do I bring that to digital? Well, first off, it might just mean that you're meant to work traditionally. Like, there's nothing wrong with discovering that. That's like, oh, the nature of traditional media mixed with my temperament, that it's actually, that's the way for me. Like, it is not insignificant that you have found a modality to work in where things make sense. People go their whole art careers not able to find that. So that's something to really pay attention to. It might mean don't do digital. It really might mean that. So consider that. But if you do want to do digital, there are tools that some of the softwares have that do their best to mimic traditional color mixing. I know Clip Studio has one, Corel Painter has it. It's like a little palette that's literally off the side. It's a palette, like one of these, like a palette window where you literally, like, you pick your colors elsewhere and you like mix them in the window. I have never jived with that stuff. It's like, it feels like a weird rail when it's like, I know I can choose anything here. But that might make it easier for you to arrive at your color choices, for sure. Besides that, I'm not sure. I mean, digital is just fundamentally different from traditional, and any way that we sort of try to make them like each other is always going to be a concession, like a game that we're playing. Is the gold man attacking the red diamond man that is in the bottom left of this drawing? I don't know what you're talking about. I don't see a red diamond man. No problem, Artus. How does traditional artists transfer their art to digital? Do they just trace, or is there something like a scan that puts the drawing in digital? It depends on your process. There's all sorts of stuff you can do. This one, I just traced my sketch to get, because my sketch is really heavy with value, but I don't want that value underneath my painting, so I scanned it. Where's the lines? I scanned it with thin lines like that. It took about 15, 20 minutes before stream. If I know my focus is going to be on adding color and stuff like that, then I don't want those fuzzy values from my pencil drawing under there. They're just going to distract. But you can also set that layer to multiply, the line layer to multiply, and then you can color underneath it. You can get the white out of it completely by using functions like, what's it called? It's usually called brightness to transparency. Photoshop doesn't have a button for it like other programs do, but you can do it in Photoshop, or you can get a plugin that adds the button for brightness to transparency, but it'll just take all the white out of a drawing and leave just the gray and black pixels. Clip Studio has the button built in. If you just go to edit, there's a button for brightness to transparency. And I'll do that. And then you have that as a layer over, and then underneath it you put colors. But usually if I'm gonna paint the way I like to paint, I like all the fuzz gone. So me usually, if I got the energy, right, if I'm not being a lazy jerk, plenty of times I just paint right into my drawing just because I want to see something fast. But if I'm trying to be clean, yeah, I usually will trace my drawing. Nick says, one thing for real. Setting up brushes digitally bores me to no end. It's a tiresome chore for something that doesn't even feel as good as traditional tools. In traditional, I know the tools and what they feel like and can pick them up and make them work, but digitally, it's like I have to get used to, I need to get used to it anew every time I start, even after so many years. I feel you. That's why I basically stopped using everything but the hard round, soft round. I mean, that's all I've been using in this painting. I find, you've heard me say it, Nick, you're around all the time. I find digital brushes just suck. I mean, they're not, they ain't good, you know, which makes sense. You know, we haven't really made a leap in the technology of brush engines or anything like that in a very long time, because it's actually a very niche thing for people to want. They're just not good. So I just stopped wishing they were good. I just You know, use digital for what it's good for, precision and cleanness, and I just use the basic round brushes. Does the knowledge of the modeling factors apply to rendering gold directly? Any material, it's not just gold. Because the modeling factors are an object that you are seeing is always being produced by only two effects, diffuse reflection and specular reflection. Unless it's, you know, something weird, you're looking at something through a scrim, so it's technically a shadow or something like that. But like in general, day to day, everything you're seeing is defined by diffuse and specular reflections. If you don't know the difference between those things, it's very important to learn it. So the diffuse reflection is always defined by the modeling factors, right? They may be obfuscated because there are multiple light sources or a lot of fill light or something like that, but diffuse reflections create modeling factors. They're always there underneath everything. And specularity, that is to say reflectiveness, is always just reflecting the environment, right? Which is a very complicated question, but all it is a reflection of the environment around the object. And those things push against each other, and one is dominant, one is subdominant, depending on the material. So you might have an object that's 90% reflective and only 10% diffuse. You might have something that's 90% diffuse, so very matte, very rubbery, and only 10% reflective. And you get edge materials like chrome, where it's like there is no diffuse reflection unless there's dirt on the object or it's tarnished somehow. But yeah, I mean, check it out. I mean, it's super counterintuitive, but a truly clean chrome ball does not have light and shadow on it. It just doesn't. It doesn't have diffuse reflection. It's pure reflection. And the only overlap with the other diffuse factors is the ambient occlusion. You know, a chrome ball will still sink to black where it touches the tabletop, but everything else about it is just going to be a reflection of the environment around it. So yes, I mean, the modeling factors apply to anything that is not purely reflective. And even shiny things like gold in reality are not purely reflective. There's some tainting of the material. They've got dust on them. They've been burnished. You know, if there's oils on the gold, the oil part might reflect, might have a diffuse reflection instead of a specular reflection. You almost never see a truly only reflective surface unless you're looking at a mirror. So yeah, it always applies. The modeling factors always apply. Good luck, human medium. You'll do great. You will not get burned out. I promise you that. People are trying to explain to me what a mangaka means comics in Japanese comic style. Okay, so it seems the consensus of what it means when you say you want to be a mangaka is not that you are in that market, but that you want to follow the style of manga. I think I'm just too up my own ass and just like, I mean, all manga don't look the same. Like what would you say is definitively, this means you're in manga style? I mean, I've seen manga that look like everything. There's realistic manga, there's manga that look just like animes, there's mangas with, I guess just because I don't know the product, I don't read a lot of manga or watch anime really, I think I'm just not the right person to ask for this kind of thing. I'm sure you guys, the fans of that market, you guys probably know like what would definitively put it in that style. And you could say that that person makes manga, not comics. I don't know. You know, I don't see how you could pin a style on something that, a market and an industry that is that broad, and it feels like anything that you would say, there's some famous manga that is not like that at all. So I just don't, it feels like at some point you'd always be like, oh yeah, that one doesn't have these markers of the style, but it's a Japanese person, so it's a manga. And it's like, you're gonna hop back and forth between it's the style, it's the person, it's the style, it's the person. Forget I said anything. Everything I'm saying right now, I'm completely aware. I'm up my own ass, and I'm not involved in that market. I don't follow that market, so I'm just confused. And I'm clearly the wrong person to ask about that question. Roundbush says, I studied drawing and painting for the last 4 years. Last month I picked up ZBrush. I can't explain why, but it feels like this is what I was meant to be doing. It happens to tons of people. Roll with it, baby. Roll with it. For most people who go through that, what they're discovering, and I don't know if this is what's happening to you, but in my experience with students, what they're discovering is that they didn't know it, but they were not interested in creating illusions. People who draw, they might not be attuned to the fact that drawing is illusions. They might not care about making illusions. They may be into drawing because they're like, I want to make it look real, 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 real. They have no interest in illusions. And they forget that drawing is illusions down to its core, all the way down. It is an illusion. It is an illusion. If you're creating form, an illusion of form in space. And there is no getting away from that. There is no making real form. So for a lot of people, if you've never heard that before, if it's never occurred to you, if you've never grokked that, if you've never grappled with that before, it could be surprising when you realize it, or you're just not thinking about it. And then you sculpt. And then you're like, oh, it's just real. I don't have to do the extra cognitive lift that you do need to do when drawing, even if you're not paying attention to it. Your unconscious has to do it. The extra cognitive lift of producing a fucking illusion of form. It's not just that I need to think about what the form is. It's not just that I need to understand the form. I need to then create it by making an illusion. And that is very complicated. When you sculpt, you can just think about what the form is, what it's supposed to be, how to make it look cool, and then you don't need to make an illusion, you just make the form. You just literally make it. And because it's a real object in space, and I'm talking about traditional sculpting and ZBrush here, I know that technically the ZBrush UI is also presenting an illusion of a three-dimensional form, but you're interacting with it the way you interact with a sculpture, right? You turn it, you look at it, you see what's too long, what's too short, things like that. Give me a little breathing room there. But when you do either one of those things, you see that the fact that it is a real 3D object that is in your space, it handles all of the illusion parts for you. You don't have to think about that at all. Very high-level sculptors do come back around and think about the illusions, and they start projecting typical 2D drawing conceptions onto sculpture, but you can arrive at all that stuff just by thinking about the form, the real actual form. In drawing, you can't do that. You can try to get to a place where you're only thinking about the real actual form, and you certainly can't get there, but at some point you must grok the nature of illusions or else you'll never be able to draw well. So for most people, that explosion when they've been drawing for a while and then they sculpt and they're like, wait, I think this is fucking it. It's that they never realize that there is a way to not have to grapple with the illusionistic parts of drawing, and it is sculpture. Dumbauer says, oh, he's still going. I left. I thought he was done. Please. Who has this level of endurance? Nobody. My endurance is crazy. All right, everybody. I'm gonna wrap. I'm hungry. We're going for 3 hours. It's time to roll. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for drawing. Thank you for keeping me company while I explore the realm of gold. I'm going to stop looking at this guy and I will take a look at him better. Oh, I was kind of just in the zone. I wasn't paying attention while I do it, but I kind of like how I did that head there. Yeah, I like that I kept it mostly in shadow, getting that blue streak in the up planes and the orange stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I can't wait to see how I fuck that up. I can't wait to find out how I refuse to honor the basic shapes there and beat them up into ugliness. Can't wait to see how I do that. All right, everybody, I'm gonna run. Thank you, everybody, for being here, and I will see you all soon. I will try to squeeze in another stream before I run off for Lightbox on Thursday. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye, Oriana. Goodbye, Noah. Goodbye, Yassine. Goodbye, Soko. Goodbye, Nick, Ravioli, and Oren Cloud. Tanish Naidu. Goodbye, Roundbrush. Goodbye, Zach and Matej. Kola. Goodbye to Zedex. Corey and Renola Dominguez. It is what it is, and even Luke Love.